Well, stereotypical Americans caught in the wild.
There has to be an easier way up, like an elevator, escalator. Why am I using my legs?
Yes, when I first started traveling overseas, outside of the United States, I always wondered to myself, what traits and attributes do Americans have that make us stand out like a sore thumb?
Dude, I feel like I'm like a superhero flying over traffic right now. Look at this. This is crazy.
Because I've heard everything under the sun, from the way we talk.
People that come in here, all of our foreigners, and just people that come from everywhere, they were like, you're gonna do really good here with your accent. And I get it all the time. People love my accent.
The way we conduct ourselves to the way we dress. Let me know in the comments down below how you're able to identify us when we travel outside the United States and, you know, travel to you guys' countries. I've compiled a series of posts that are pretty interesting, catching Americans out in the wild, out exploring the world, and the interesting encounters that have come up because of that. We'll just put it that way. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. If you guys are returning viewers, welcome back. If you guys have not subscribed already, please do so, because you will not be disappointed if you hop along this ride, exploring the intricacies of Americans and how we navigate the world and how you guys criticize us. We definitely need more criticism. I will tell you that right now. So let's not waste any more time. Also, don't forget to like the video. In our first post here, you might want to see this. So that's a very interesting observation. In fact, I have something I would like to admit. This is my second time actually traveling to South Korea. The first time I was out here, I was here in 2017 to 2018. I lived here for a year, and I was the most obnoxious, typical, ridiculous American you'd ever seen, I promise. I was out here wilding out. I was loud. I was very inconsiderate of other people. I made it a point to be as out there as possible. And I did not realize, I think I was completely oblivious to how much I was impacting my environment. Now, just so you guys know, in Korea, the culture is very reserved, quiet. The locals in Korea are very respectful. Now, there was one particular incident I will tell you guys about, and I'm not proud of it. It haunts me to this day. I was riding the bus with 3 of my friends. We're in the back of the bus riding out to Seoul from wherever our location is, and we're cracking jokes, we're being absolutely loud, but I had no idea exactly how loud we were being. Now, I kept making note that the bus driver was looking at us, like kind of glaring a little bit, all the way from the back of the bus. I'm like looking at the rear view mirror, and I'm like, okay, like he keeps looking at us. Does he not like foreigners? Whatever. No, it's not that he didn't like foreigners. He just did not appreciate that we weren't being considerate, because a lot of times, actually 99% of the time on public transportation, especially in South Korea, you want to be as quiet as possible. You want to be as considerate as possible, especially if you're on the bus. Now, the trains, you can be a little bit more talkative, but still got to keep it down to a minimum. Buses, particularly the buses that they look like the coach buses, they have the really nice seating and stuff like that. It's very well insulated, and they have the curtains on each of the windows and whatnot. Typically, people like to sleep from point A to point B. They sleep until they arrive at their destination, or they read a book in silence or whatever. And we were absolutely disrupting the peace. So the bus driver did something I will never forget. He stopped the bus in the middle of the highway. I will say the short-temperedness in Korea is different. You know what I'm saying? He had it up to here, and he was very patient. So he wasn't short-tempered. He just was very fed up. He stopped the bus in the middle of the highway. I heard cars whizzing and honking and shrieking, tires screeching in the background. And he said in the clearest English, "If you do not learn how to be quiet, I will kick you off my bus." Deserved. Yeah, looking back at that moment, it haunts me, because I'm like, was I oblivious to how loud I was being? I mean, let alone how loud my friends were being. And the answer is yes, I was completely oblivious. So this post strikes a chord for sure, because I was thoroughly impressed with how quiet it was on public transportation, not just in South Korea, but also in Germany. Now, it depends on where you're at.
Bro, the kids are screaming around. Did you not? Haven't you been taught better than screaming at kids, not them screaming around all the time?
Bro, what the fuck is happening right now?
But typically speaking, if I'm riding the ICE in Deutschland, it's very quiet. Even most buses and trains are quiet to a degree, but I think as we've seen an influx of people traveling or even living in Germany from other countries, that's starting to change a little bit. If you're in inner cities like Berlin, Hamburg, Cologne, the public transportation, at least on the city buses and trains within the city, are very, I mean, the people can get very rowdy. But the comments actually had a few things to say about this. And let's go over what some people had to say. So our first comment says, was traveling in Germany and on a metro in Munich. The only talking people that I could hear were a small clique of Brit boys, and their topics moved from potatoes to Princess Diana and leprechauns. Now, similarly, I have heard the Brits they also loud too. And also, I would like to say, I do have another interesting story about the noise levels on public transportation. I was taking the train from one point in Germany to another point. Now at this point, it had been my 4th or 5th time being out in Germany. And this was very recently. This was my last trip in Germany, actually. And I'm minding my own business. I have my headphones in. And over my headphones, I hear people entering the train, you know, kind of loud a little bit. And I look, and these guys are sporting Irish flags. And I'm like, okay, cool. Awesome. So I'm assuming these guys are from Ireland. They were a little drunk. They had a cooler with them, you know, and long story short, these guys bust out a speaker on the train.
After 5 minutes, we get We're getting on for 5 minutes and do something. Having a bit of fun.
That's your bad,
And I was curious. I'm like, what the heck? They sat across from me, and these guys turned their speaker up to max volume, and they're all singing, cheering, and you know, they open up the cooler and they're drinking beers, going crazy, and their energy was just so radiant, right? But they were loud, and they were clapping and stomping on the train to the point where my train car is rocking side to side violently, and I'm like, oh my god. And as you can imagine, Germany is a place where a lot of people love to follow rules. The rules are law. People do not let that slide. So this older German gentleman gets up and he's yelling at them in German, and basically what he says is, have you no consideration? You guys need to be quiet. Shut up and let us ride this train in peace. They didn't understand what he was saying. So they start chanting louder. They start stumping harder, and the train car is rocking more than it was before. And the other people on the train car, right, that were German, they're like, oh, man. They're all complaining. They're like, come on, man, shut up. Mind you, I think the number of Germans in the car that I was riding in were completely outnumbered by the number of Irish people that were on that train. They were waving their flags around, they were drinking beers, they're all cheering and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my God. It was the most interesting thing I've ever seen, because typically I'm used to, like, you know, spotting an American out there going crazy, group of Americans going crazy and stuff. But this was different. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But I was pretty hungry. I had not eaten for a while. It was like kind of pushing toward closer to the afternoon, and one of them, they're like, hey, you hungry, mate? And I'm like, yeah. And they give me a fucking Twix bar, king size Twix bar. So that was enough to, I didn't peep a singular complaint. I'm like, hey, look, I understand this is not typically what needs to be going on in trains, but I mean, you've earned my loyalty with a king size Twix bar. Moral of the story, I realized it's not just Americans that are crazy loud, man. The Brits can be loud, and I guess the Irish can be real loud too. It could be anybody, honestly, but I was just very impressed. Let me know how you guys feel about that in the comments down below. Also, let me know what you guys' experiences are spotting Americans out in the wild, or even like your neighboring countries out in the wild in your country, and how you were able to identify who they were. Because I gotta read these. I keep seeing pretty interesting comments in the comment sections of these recent videos, and I'm telling you, I have never been more entertained. But We have another comment to review which says, your community's died and all that's left is people who don't even care to speak to each other. I'm all for hating America, but this isn't a flex. Y'all are just as sad and broken as the rest of us. Oof. Oh my gosh, this person was obviously hurt. You good? You good? There's something you want to say to the rest of the class? Dang, what's going on with this comment? But there was a response. So you can imagine this comment got ratioed pretty hard, as it says, God forbid we like to chill and calmly get to our destination instead of yelling at strangers. Yeah, a lot of people don't appreciate the fact that people are noisy on trains or public transit when you're just trying to get from point A to point B. You got a lot going on. Everybody has a lot going on in their day. And the last thing they need is a headache and a half when transporting from point A to point B. I mean, why can't we just keep it civil? Okay, not everybody got to be talking. And the thing is, we do not need to be hearing your conversations. So it's not like you can't talk, but talk at a respectful level. If you have hearing issues, then I don't know, just be mindful that the likelihood of people not receiving you very well based on how you're behaving is going to be a little bit higher. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. American dream. Enjoy your freedom. Y'all will not let that go, huh? You're right. You're cooking. But we got another post, and I think you guys are gonna find this one pretty interesting.
Sucks in Europe. Because why do I have to bag my own groceries in Europe? Why are there no—
Your username told me everything that I needed to know, because literally the second part of it was MAGA. I'm sorry to Europe that you wound up over here. You really need to go back to the US because that's where you belong. Alright, so if you have such a problem with how Europe does things, don't be here. Don't be here. It's that simple. Because I've noticed that your account is nothing but complaining about how Europe does things. Why doesn't Europe offer bagging services? Because 1, that's an expense that the store doesn't need. 2, they don't have people complaining that, oh, you didn't bag it right. 3, that would take longer for them to, check everything out and then bag it for you. It's your responsibility to bag your groceries. So you can bag them how you want, or you can bag them in a box or a bag or your backpack or whatever else. Because a lot of people go shopping every day here.
Also, very guilty when I traveled to Germany for the very first time. Even though I had done extensive research, so it wasn't as bad when I did this, I realized there are no baggers. There are no baggers. Bagging is definitely an American, I would think, I'm defaulting here, but possibly an American exclusive thing. There are other places that have people that possibly might bag your groceries. I don't know. I just know America is known for doing it. And I grew up my entire life with that being a huge part of my life when it came to grocery shopping and anything else. So when I traveled to Germany, for a split second, I'm like, oh my gosh, I defaulted and thought to myself when I went to the cash register, I'm like, why aren't they, where's the person supposed to be bagging my groceries? And then immediately I'm like, oh my God, I'm in Germany. Duh, I need to be bagging my own stuff. So I bagged my stuff and got out of there. But that was something that I just could not wrap my head around when I first discovered that in Europe, people don't bag your groceries for you. I don't even understand why that concept was so foreign to me, when it makes sense that a lot of people prefer to bag their own groceries themselves. I mean, you get to organize your own groceries in a way that's optimal for you. Whereas a lot of times the people that bag your groceries don't do it the best way, and then all of a sudden you're wondering why your bread is underneath all of the heavier items in your grocery bag and you're throwing a hissy fit. I will also say this, the shopping experience was pretty intense when it came to purchasing food in Germany, and I'm pretty sure it's the same in Europe, but specifically Germany, because the pay for your food and go aspect was so rapid. You needed to strategize how you were going to pack your groceries before you even hit the general vicinity of the cash register. So I had these reusable bags that I had brought with me, and when I got up there, I'm like, okay, cool. The second I put the items on the conveyor belt, I'm gonna grab and put the items in my bag as quick as possible. So I failed an innumerable amount of times, but eventually I got it right. I mean, 20th time's the charm. And yeah, it made it for a pretty cool experience. It was an adjustment for sure, but I enjoyed it, honestly. But we do have comments addressing this. So let's start off with our first one, which says, yes, you're right. But did anybody else notice that in the very first clip, she had gone to self-checkout? I noticed that. Okay, so even in the United States, let's use the logic of, okay, I don't understand why Europe doesn't have grocery baggers. We don't even have them available in the United States for self-checkout. So what the heck is going on? So many errors with this post. I noticed that too, and I'm like, oh, are you okay? I don't know. I feel like the only place in the United States that would likely have baggers at a self-checkout would possibly be California, because California is different. Okay, I feel like it's like a variant of Florida to a degree. Anyways, our next comment says, I genuinely don't understand why you would want someone to bag your groceries. I always take my backpack and a tote bag to the store and then play Tetris to fit everything in there well without. And that's what I'm talking about. You do not need people to bag your groceries for you. It's more efficient if you do it yourself. And it's a teaching moment, because if you don't know how to bag your groceries, well, now's the time to learn, because you're under the pressure of other people trying to get through the grocery line as well. So get right or get left. Anyways, we have another comment which says, if you don't like Europe and the way we do or we live, you're free to never come. We have our own entitled Karens, don't need the US version. I feel that. I feel that. Now, again, people in the United States say the same thing when people from other countries travel to the United States. Like, if you don't like it here, you need to leave. But I actually think that every country and continent deserves some kind of criticism. There's a lot of things in Europe that deserve some criticism within the countries that lay within the continent. I'm pretty sure a lot of the comments at this point are going to be filled with a lot of stories from Americans that were pretty entitled traveling to a lot of you guys' countries watching this video. So let me in on a couple of you guys' stories and experiences you guys have had with that, or maybe experiences from close friends that have dealt with us out there in the wild. But let's move on to the next post.
I went to London this past week. I have never felt like such an idiot as I did this first week here. Okay, so first thing is, don't ever order a coffee if you come here. They don't have coffee, they just have espresso. Second thing, no one has ever looked at me like I am so dumb as to when I asked where the eggs were at the grocery store. But they are not refrigerated. They are in the bread section. And last but not least, if you're trying to get your dryer to work, hold on. Okay, last thing, I tried to get my dual washer dryer to work for like over an hour. Turns out it's well known that the dryer just does not work. So you have to hang dry all your clothes.
So on the coffee example, first of all, I've never been to anywhere in England ever. All right. So I just don't know. But I can say from the other countries I've been to in Europe, their coffee sizes are a lot smaller. They typically serve espresso over what I would consider normal coffee and whatnot. But also, again, different based on different countries that you travel to. Because in Germany, I had no issue with the different options of coffee. The only complaint, and it's not really a complaint, was just the sizing. Even in 2025, a lot of America's sizes are still very large compared to the rest of the world. So if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments down below. Now, I will talk about these eggs, okay? Let me talk to y'all about this. Now, I tell you guys all the time, I'm living in South Korea. Now, one of the things that shocked me was the egg situation here, right? So when I got here, I went to a grocery store here for the first time. Mind you, this is prior to me ever traveling to Europe. And I'm like, wait a minute, why are the eggs not refrigerated? Huh? That's so strange. They're just out and about, out in the open. The expiration date is far in the future. And then I realized a lot of the way that America's eggs are produced and handled, it pretty much kills the expiration date. It shortens the lifespan of the expiration date, so they have to be refrigerated. And then on the flip side, a lot of countries like South Korea and Germany, for instance, they have their eggs just out and about, just out in the open, because of the processes they use to take care of the eggs and whatnot. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And if anything, I think that it's better to have them out in the open and not refrigerated and whatnot. Now, myself, right, I put all my eggs in the fridge. I don't know why. I just, creature of habit, I guess. They are a lot cheaper out here too. So there was that egg crisis earlier this year, and you know, the United States was going crazy, like, oh my God, like, you know, the price of eggs is through the roof ever since the whole tariff thing. But I didn't feel that. I'm in South Korea, but the eggs are cheap. But we have some comments. Let's get into that. Now, in this first comment, it says, an Americano is the closest you'll get to drip coffee in Europe, unless you go to a Starbucks or some other similar kind of chain. And actually, I will say this, I've noticed a lot more, I can't even say fusion places, but like a lot more like, you know, diverse coffee spots in various parts of Europe, right? Now, if you go to a typical coffee spot in any place in Europe, then yeah, you're going to be getting variants of espresso, but there are a lot of coffee shops that sell a variety of different types of coffee that extend beyond just espresso. You know what I mean? Like drip coffee, regular drip coffee. The next comment says, my biggest confusion was when I entered restaurants and could not tell if I was supposed to seat myself. I had that issue too. Again, when I traveled to Germany for the first time, it wasn't just one, but like every restaurant I went to, for the most part, I'd say 90% of them are self-seating. Like you can walk in there, let them know that you're interested in eating at the spot, and then they're like, okay, well, go pick a seat. A lot of times they don't even say that, just go and sit down, and then a server will come to you, and then your transaction will begin at that point going forward. Anyways, this next comment says, I did the egg thing too. Oh, trust me. I feel like if you're coming from the United States, I think we've all done the egg thing. We got another post to cover. And again, I think y'all will find this to be more or less interesting.
You like your burger?
Yeah, finally, some normal food. But where does a guy have to go to get some ranch sauce around here?
I've never seen coffee this black before. What is this, some kind of special flavor? Ew, I can actually taste the coffee. Cream, sugar, now.
Oh my gosh. In previous videos and stuff, I've read the comments, and a lot of you guys have said like, man, I find it so strange that Americans will travel across the pond just to crave their home food immediately upon arrival. And I've done that. When I first got to Korea, I think I defaulted. And I'm like, where's the McDonald's? I know every country has a McDonald's. Like, where's the McDonald's? That's so weird. Like, why would I not want to travel and try the food of the place I'm traveling to? Like, huh? And it's a very common thing. It's more common than you'd expect. I had to change my mentality a little bit, a lot of it. So that was a pretty interesting stereotype there with the American dude wolfing down a McDonald's burger. And then, oh my gosh, the way that we consume our coffee, I've never been more self-aware than when I've been doing these videos as of recent. I didn't realize how much sugar we put in our coffee. Like what? Let's look at the comments. This first comment, man. Put ranch sauce into the coffee. Jail. Jail. I know you're trolling, but jail. The next comment says, I don't understand how they add that much stuff to the coffee. It's not even coffee anymore at this point. Yeah. You're right. I don't even know what you'd call it. What would you call it? What would you label the concoction that Americans call coffee? This next comment says, wait till you taste real beer and not the water Americans call beer in the US. I miss German beer, bro. I miss it. Korea has some pretty good beer too, but I really miss German beer. Well, we have another post, as you can imagine. Whew, let's check it out.
Europe is crazy. You could literally drive 1 hour and be in 3 different countries. If you were in New York and drove 1 hour, you'd be at JFK. Everything here is just so old and quaint. I could totally see myself living here. What do I have to do to get some ice around here? Oh, I just love Europe. Why are the glasses so small? You cannot find any of this in the States. It's only unique to Europe. Why is everyone replying to me in English? On peut avoir l'addition, s'il te plaît? Merci. I'm so hungry. I could totally go for a snack. I'm really craving I don't know how to say it in English, but a croissant.
The croissant took me out, man. Took me out. Oh my gosh. There's a lot to talk about with this whole thing. First of all, the glass sizes. I know I'm bouncing all over the place, but the glass sizes in Europe are considerably smaller for sure.
Why are the glasses so small?
But interestingly enough, when it comes to different types of drinks, when it comes to water, oh yeah, the glass size is gonna be real small. But when it comes to alcohol, oh my gosh. It's like you want us to make bad decisions out there. I'm using Germany as an example, but this rings true for the Netherlands and Belgium as well. You ask for water, you get in a little shot glass, right? You get in a tiny little cup. You ask for beer or wine, and good God, prepare to have your mind and world blown away for how much different the size is in comparison to water. Also, I'm hearing from you guys that because there's not a lot of sodium in your food, there isn't this like overtly crazy desire to drink as much water, but I don't know. Yes, okay, all sodium aside, I just like water, bro. I love drinking water. I drink a bunch of water. I feel like it's really good for your body. I mean, that is one criticism I think I still have about Europe. Y'all just don't like water like that. Like, I love drinking you guys' sparkling water. I love drinking your tap water. In fact, I brought one of my empty gallon jugs with me, and I would fill that thing up to the brim all the time. And everybody looked at me like I was crazy, because I probably am. But I love water so much. Also,
you cannot find any of this in the States. It's only unique to Europe.
People shopping out there in Europe and stuff like that, right? Designer brands exist outside of Europe, but of course people love to flex when they're out there shopping and spending all this money in Europe and whatnot. You're the typical American tourist. But something interesting I did notice is, and I didn't really fully grasp the concept until I was physically in Europe, but how close all the countries are together.
Europe is crazy. You could literally drive 1 hour and be in 3 different countries.
Right? When you hear somebody in the United States say like, oh, I traveled to Greece, and then Spain, and then Switzerland, and Germany, whatever. You're like, wow, oh my gosh, that's pretty far, right? And of course, like from the United States, that is incredibly far. But when you're physically in Europe, not that far. The United States is massive. It's a pretty big place. And I'm not sure how big Europe is in comparison to the United States. But I will say the countries are next door to each other in Europe. I mean, they're all next door to each other. So it's a few hour drive, sometimes longer, maybe a day's drive, but still a lot more accessible than it is to people across the pond, literally, in the United States. So it makes sense that you're able to travel to all of these desired countries in a short span of time, whereas in America, we gotta get a syllabus, save a whole bunch of money, and do all this planning and whatnot. And you can spontaneously just say, you know what, let's go to Greece for the weekend, and then come back. Like, saying that and being from the United States and living in the United States is diabolical. You gotta have some money for that. Let's get into these comments, man. The Mercy.
On peut avoir l'addition, s'il te plaît? Mercy.
Sent chills down my spine. I know everybody in France did a backflip when they heard that. I know everybody out there did a backflip. Oh man. Wait till you see how I pronounce words in French. You ain't gonna like it. I promise. I'm terrible. I am cooked. I'm locking in on German and German alone when it comes to language learning, as far as trying to master it. Next comment says, wait till you find out bathrooms aren't free. Okay. That's a criticism I had to this day. I had an issue with the bathrooms having a fee attached to them. Story time. And there's proof of this on my YouTube channel if you're lucky enough to find the video. Please don't. I went to a wine festival in Germany, my first time in Germany, and I met my subscribers and stuff. It was amazing. We all had fun. We drank some wine. We shared some cool stories. And towards the end of the night, I had to pee. My hotel was not very far. It was probably 150 meters away from the location we were at, so not terrible, but there were literal bathrooms like right next to us. Like, there were these fortified porta potties, and when I say fortified, these things looked exquisite. All right, they looked like bougie bathrooms, but in porta potty form, but like more fortified, like solid looking porta potties, not the plastic things we have in the United States, but very much like they were built with intent, and I loved that. I did not know, and maybe I completely forgot that there was a fee attached to that. But anyways, I'm like, okay, I'll just go to the bathroom real quick. I'm waiting in line, whatever. I'm not paying attention because I'm tipsy. I get to the point where there's one of the bathrooms that opens up, but the person's like, hey, like, that'll be ein Euro bitte. I'm like, €1. And I patted myself down. I'm like, I didn't have any cash on me. And I'm like, I'm cooked. I'm so cooked. I'm so cooked. I'm like, wait a minute. My hotel is not that far. So the pilgrimage began. I had to pee. Okay, it was a 10 out of 10. I'm gonna just speed this story up. I sprinted all 150 meters to my hotel, and it's late. It's probably 10 p.m. 11 p.m. at night, and I take the elevator. My interesting self decided to get a hotel room on the top floor of the building. So it took forever to get to the top. I get there and I'm literally like, I can feel my bladder like trembling, like literally about to just give up and go like, dude, if you do not get in that room in the next 3 seconds, I'm gonna pee all over this floor. I get to the top floor. I run to my hotel room. I pull out the hotel key. I buzz the door, or at least I thought I was gonna buzz the door. I drop the hotel key and my bladder trembles and I pee a little bit and I'm like, oh my God. I pick the key up, I open the door, finally. And the second my eyes lock on to the door of my bathroom, I pee all over myself. Oh God, dude, so embarrassing. Anyways, next comment says, you forgot your need for an iced latte. Yeah, everywhere I go, man. You guys sell lattes here? Do you sell lattes here? I didn't realize how bad it was until you guys kept calling us out. Oh my gosh. Well, let's get into this next post because I bet y'all can't wait for that.
Being American in a country like Europe is that you feel like an idiot.
A country like Europe.
We didn't stand a chance. We didn't stand a chance. We were cooked from the start. This guy opened up the video with being an American in a country like Europe. My God. Help us, please. Well, the comments were interesting. A country like Europe? This is why people can't take us seriously, man. We got motherfuckers like this. Do your research, bro. Europe is a continent. You know, I'm actually curious how many Americans know the names of all 7 continents. What do you guys think? Maybe you have more faith than I do. These posts are killing my brain cells. Next comment. I'm from Poland, small village in Europe. Oh my God. There were more comments feeding into this too. The next comment, look at this, look at this. I'm from Romania. You know, the city where vampires live. Look what you started, man.
In a country like Europe.
Look what you started. Oh my God. We have another comment we have to get to, which says, I'm from the town named Germany. God damn it. Oh boy. Well, I will be hearing that for a while. Let's move on to the next post, shall we?
It's a list of the things of how we Europeans can tell exactly that you're American. If you're walking around, if we see you spotting you in the wild in Europe, we know you're American because of the following. First of all, there's this air of lightness, of openness about the way you walk. And most of the time, you probably have a smile on your face.
Listen, I'm a happy dude, okay? My friends know this. Everybody that knows me knows this. I love to smile. I love to laugh. Woo! And apparently a lot of other Americans do as well, which is a good thing. It doesn't kill you to smile every once in a while. I have heard that the running thing in Europe is a lot of people are cold.
The second thing is that I know you're American probably is that I don't have someone breathing right in my neck and just having no personal space when we're waiting in line for something, or not even waiting in line and like just cutting ahead of me. Yeah. If you're waiting in line properly, then I know you're American.
Okay, that was another thing. And personal space. Oh my God. I am slightly paranoid, right? And when people get too close, I get a little uncomfortable. And I think that's most Americans, right? So we give people the space that we want from other people. Now, we might be oblivious to our noise levels and a lot of other things that we do when we travel, but we will at least give you some personal space. We will not be right up on you. That's not the case in Europe, and that's not the case in Asia. In Asia, they will vacuum seal the space between you and the other person, okay? If you're waiting in line and you're not nut to butt up on somebody, then somebody will slip in and cut you, I promise you. So let me give you an example. I was standing probably a little less than probably a meter away from the person in front of me waiting in line. And I guess that was an invitation for people to kind of just walk in front of me and stand in line. I'm like, oh my God. And so another person tried doing it, so I stood up, like I walked forward, but I'm like right up on the person in front of me, and I'm like, this is uncomfortable. But the person in front of me didn't seem to think that it was uncomfortable at all. They're kind of just like, okay, well, finally you did something cool. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then it feels weird because like having somebody stand behind you, you know, breathing down your neck a little strange. Now I'm tall, so fortunately I don't have nobody breathing down my neck, but still, it's still very uncomfortable. I'm like, oh my God. So I can only imagine. Especially for women, right? Like imagine a man standing directly behind you, like not giving you space to breathe and stuff. Like, oh God, it's gotta feel weird. I mean, it's gotta feel weird for anybody, right? But I could definitely see how it might feel even more strange in a situation like that. So obviously there's some more to this.
And the next thing is actually also if someone holds the door open for me, and if you let the door not fall into my face or crash into my face, then I also know you're American and not European. The next thing I say would be if I see someone that has totally styled athleisure, style on. Athleisure wear, I think that's what you say. But essentially, like really, you got like the hat on, you got like the leggings or whatever, or maybe like jogging pants, and then like the top and workout and that kind of stuff, right? And the proper shoes with it too. Then I usually think you're American.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, man. We like to dress like athletes out there, man. I got my Nike Tech jacket when I'm in Europe. I got my Air Force Ones and some joggers on, and this, and sometimes like some kind of sports cap, whatever. But yeah, I don't think that's bad. Europeans, for the most part, you guys dress very well, very well. Like I can understand why most of the models in magazines are European. I mean, good God, the fashion sense out there is up there.
Or on the other hand, sometimes you can see that, I think, if you go to main cities in Europe like Rome, or you go to Paris and you see someone completely styled, like they looked up the perfect European summer outfit, then most of the time actually I also think that they're American. For men, if you are maybe bald but you're wearing the sunglasses, like you're turning them around and the sunglasses are in the back of your head, I also think you're American. And then also, of course, when I'm walking through the city, but I hear someone like in a very loud tone say something like, oh my gosh, look at that building!
Damn, yo, that's crazy. Oh my God. What the fuck? Dude, it looks like a Photoshop kind of thing. Like, what the heck?
And it's actually in a very enthusiastic and cute way, but you're not aware of like the general volume level. And that probably gets, probably people say that the most. Then I also know that you're American if I hear a very loud sound coming from your direction. But I don't mean this in a bad way at all. I love the enthusiasm. So anyways, I think that's pretty much it. That's my list. Do you have anything to add to it?
The glasses in the back of a bald head is crazy work, man. I have seen that, obviously, but dang. I guess I'm blessed I still have my hair at this big age. I just turned 30, so let's get into these comments and see what they had to say. Our first comment says, if you think Rome is the capital of Paris, you are an American. We can't win, can we? We cannot win. We cannot win. Okay, we can't win. Oh my God. Oh man. What are some things that you guys immediately clock that we do, right, out in the wild, in Europe or wherever in the world, where you're like, okay, that person is 100% American? Let me know some things in the comments, because I'm so serious. It's interesting. I think these comments will be very interesting reading them and whatnot, because I'll make a follow-up video with you guys' responses. Our next comment says, for men, the khaki pants, a cap, white sneakers, and sporty sunglasses. For women, the perfect mani and pedicures, makeup, caps, leggings, and an innocent, radiant smile. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. A lot of the women in Europe are more stoic than not, for sure, from what I've noticed. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's in the air out here, man? I mean, it's beautiful. With all these old architectural pieces and stuff, and the amount of nature you guys have out here, and the transportation, I'd be smiling all the time. But again, different cultures, different vibes, different things, So I get it. We got another comment to cover, and it says, I can spot an American in Europe from a mile away. But I have to correct you. Brits always queue and always hold the door open for you. Oh, and here we have our final post.
Oh my God! But he does not look 35. He looks like he's the same age as her. Like they look like siblings.
Remember that story I told you guys about me being loud on the bus in Korea, I was louder than what you hear in this video. Since then, been way better about that, 100%. I don't even really talk like that loud out in public. Sometimes I do, but not like that anymore. I will say there was an incident recently where my friend and I were talking outside, and he was just so loud. My ears were ringing. He was like standing right next to me. We were walking, and he was like just so loud. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm right next to you, bro. Like, relax. But I don't think he realized how loud he was being and stuff until I reminded him. I'm like, hey, bro, like, I'm right next to you, man. You don't gotta yell, bro. You don't gotta yell. And of course, I did see a lot of people on this post clapping back, and they're like, oh, you guys are just allergic to conversation, I guess. Like, oh my God. I'm like, come on, man. It's not that. We just want to get from point A to point B in silence, bro. Like, not even total silence, but like, just be respectful and considerate of the people around you. They don't want to be subjected to your conversation. They didn't consent to that. They just wanted to get from point A to point B. That's it. There's no reason why you need to be inserting us into your drama or conversation of any kind, right? Vice versa. So let's look at these comments. First one says, people's obsession with silence is hurting humanity. Everyone's lonely because no one wants to speak up.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
That's not why people are lonely. That's not why people are lonely. Listen, chit-chatting and commute. Now, if it's a friend, that's different. And at that point, still, just monitor your noise levels. That's all people are saying. They're not saying don't talk at all. They're just saying moderate how loud you're being in public. Our next comment says, literally rode on a train in New York yesterday, and the Europeans were the only ones talking, and yeah, I recorded it. So can we stop acting like this doesn't go both ways? Okay, so playing devil's advocate here. I've seen situations like that too, but the reason why they're called stereotypes is because there is a disproportionate amount of people doing the same thing. It doesn't mean other people can't do the same thing, or it doesn't mean that other people don't do the same thing. It just means that so many people in this demographic have done the same thing that is something that at this point you can expect. And although people don't like stereotypes, they do have some truth to them. Our next comment though says, laughing emojis. And ladies and gentlemen, that's where we will end this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. How were you able, for the love of God, to identify an American out in the wild?